Hey everybody, we are back, Dr. J and GC with another Q&A, and we're going to show you how to read your MyHappyGenes report like a pro. Now, this applies to you if you already have it and you've read it. Don't turn away. You might learn something from Dr. J because she created it. She probably knows a little bit more than we do. And if you've never gotten your genes tested with MyHappyGenes, you will find it really interesting when you see the depth of what you'll find. You'll get a list of your genes, but the sliders give you the granular details about why you are the way you are. Everything from mood and personality to what you can eat, whether you're a good sleeper or not good sleeper. So, Dr. J, I'm going to let you take it away, share your screen, and walk them through it.
Yeah, the why you are the way you are is why we're doing this. Trying to get down as deep as possible into the underlying causes of things. So let me take you through how to read your report. So this is actually mine. I don't mind sharing what's going on with me because I think I've been a pretty open book about it. You get 5 reports. There's the mood and personality, diet and lifestyle, My Healthy Genes report, biochemical pathways, and personalized supplement recommendation. These last 3 only available through a healthcare practitioner because there's some sensitive information in there that we want to make sure that you're under the care of a physician or a licensed healthcare practitioner when you go through those reports and don't make assumptions about what's happening. I'm going to open up the first one. The mood and personality report has in it the gene table, all of the genes that we test for. Currently, I think I've just added maybe 4 or 5 more. I think we're at 625 SNPs that we report on, and we actually upload every time you log in, we upload 675,000 SNPs so we can pull from that list of SNPs and add to our report at any time. When you start to look at your information, make sure you watch this little video because it does go over how you read the reports. And when you're looking at your sliders, we'll show you from all the way from low risk to high risk. What we're doing is we're tallying up the genetic variants that you've inherited. You get a set of genes from mom, a set of genes from dad. Those combine to give you your unique set of genes. And it turns out we're like 99.9% the same, all of us. It's that 0.1% that is a variation, not a mutation, that can make you different from your neighbor or your spouse, even your brothers and sisters and your parents. These are all the genes that we have found in the literature to have good scientific studies behind that if you have a genetic variant there, it can be associated with an increased alcohol addiction risk. So if you have homozygous variants, they're going to push this slider to the right. If you have the normal code, it's going to push it back to the left so that you get a relative risk. And this is very different than a lot of companies out there that are one gene, one issue, here's your supplement that you take. We've done a lot of work to integrate all this information so that we give you the relative risk. And just because you have a low risk in this category, like I have, doesn't mean that you couldn't become an alcoholic if you tried. I was raised in a very high alcohol consumption family. Both my parents were alcoholics, but for some reason it didn't take for me. And partly because I have genetic variants that make it feel terrible when I drink alcohol, which kind of saved me as well. But this is only your genetics and has nothing to do with your environment or how much you drink. This is not going to change because your genes don't change. It's the concept that we talk about, which is genes load the gun and the environment pulls the trigger. I had a low risk here, so that trigger never got pulled, even though I was exposed to it from early age on. And this is a very new slider too, addiction risk for cannabis. I have a slightly higher risk. So anything greater than 30% is something that you're going to want to pay attention to. I did my share of smoking pot in college, but it just, again, I didn't get addicted. It wasn't something I cared to continue. And low nicotine risk, which was interesting because everybody in my family smoked, but I got that unique gene that made it just not interesting to me. And opioid addiction risk. So overall, pretty low tendency for addictions, which is nice. However, when we get into the anger, aggression, and irritability, it's climbing up above the 30%. And so I inherited some of these warrior genes that you've heard me talk about, the MAOs and the TPHs that kind of push that irritability to the right. Have had moments in the past where I did have a little bit of a temper, But the interesting thing is, this is, again, just your genetic risk. And there's a lot we can do to modify that, to upregulate those enzymes that break down those hormones that cause the irritability. And it does give you kind of compassion for yourself. It's not always your fault that you're a grouch. Sometimes it's biochemistry. And that really helped me as well to understand, oh, wow. And also, if I start to get a little irritable, I'm like, I think my MAOs are out of balance. Better get back to balancing them. So there's anxiety and stress, attention and focus. This is ADD, ADHD. This is the schizophrenia risk. And there's my depression. You've heard me talk about how this was what really drove me to look for the answers for depression. And as long as I take my supplements, I don't get depressed like I used to. I spent most of my life depressed until I figured out how to modify these genetic variants. But again, very comforting to me to know that it wasn't just a bad attitude for me. There's seasonal affective disorder, mild depression, autism spectrum or neurodivergence. Entrepreneurial tendencies, you can see mine's very high. And so when you have this one going on, usually these people, if anything above 30%, you're one of those people that's probably does better working for yourself or because you're always thinking of a better way to do things and difficulty following instructions like a recipe. You might like a little bit of more cinnamon or maybe a different kind of sugar. You're always messing with things and trying new things out. This is the hormone-related mood swings for PMS, PMDD. Had a little bit of that when I was having periods. And then lack of empathy and emotional bonding. This is high. In other words, I have a low risk of lack of empathy, which means I'm very high in empathy. And I have to be careful because I do take on other people's energies and I have to excuse myself and go be alone and center myself again. And I caution people who are in the green with this one. Pretty high in the learning difficulties. It has nothing to do with intelligence, but it does have to do with maybe reading comprehension or dyslexias. And it's interesting because back when we were in school, GC, you probably remember, nobody paid attention to these things. They just like do your work. But it's good to know, and it's good to get your kids tested too to see if they've got a different way of learning. It's not anything to do with intelligence, but they might need different ways of learning. And this is mood swings, so the ups and downs, novelty seeking and impulsivity. Okay, a little bit of a OCD, yes. And PTSD risk, and then sleep disorders. But here we get into the juicy stuff. So when you get down here, you're going to see the genes. So this column right here are the single nucleotide polymorphisms. Those are the single base pairs changed in these particular genes that can relate to changes in the body or health risks or emotional risks. And then this column, this is the RSID number. This is the ID number that was given during the Genome Project to identify those particular SNPs so that we know that the research that was done on that SNP is actually done on that individual SNP. So you can see here's the ACAT gene. There's 3 of them, but there are 3 different SNPs that we report on. And they all have different characteristics. And then this is a characteristic affected by the genetics. And they're not the only ones. They're just kind of the main characteristics of that particular SNP. This is the risk allele. That's the wrong code in your DNA. So in the literature, they'll say, oh, people that have that ANAT gene that have inherited the A allele instead of a G allele are going to have issues with sleep. But my alleles were G, so I don't have any of the risk alleles, so it comes up green, which means that I got the right code for that particular gene. The yellow ones are one of your parents gave you the wrong code, and that's going to slow down that enzyme by about 30%. And so we look at what does that enzyme do? How does it work? And it's one of the enzymes that's involved in energy production and high blood fats or high cholesterol. And then the red ones are the ones where both parents gave you the wrong code. So the cool thing is you can go over here and you can click on these SNPs. It opens up a new window and it's going to show you what that enzyme does. And this one is the enzyme that breaks down ethanol, retinol, alcohols, and steroids, et cetera. It can lead to alcohol addictions, but I also have some of the ones that can make me feel terrible. I think it's this one. Is it this one? Yeah, alcohol intolerance on this one. So, these enzymes can balance each other out. So it's kind of fascinating. The second number here, if you click on that, it'll take you right to a website called SNPedia. And this is where we've done all the research. These are the PubMed studies that have shown that this particular genetic variant has certain effects on the physiology. And we can find the risk allele in that literature. So that's how you're going to be able to look at these. You can click on any of these things. You can click on the immune system dysfunction or digestive system dysfunction and see what I was talking about there. And here's a real fun thing. If you want to see all your homozygous variants, if you go over here where it says result and click once, you can click again, and it'll bring up all your homozygous variants so you can look at them all at once, which is kind of cool. And again, so you're going to be clicking on things and looking at what does this mean? It's a ton of information for you to learn more about what you do. But this is where we get the sliders. We add up all the homozygous variants, the heterozygous, and the normal code, and then give you where you land on that slider according to what genes you have inherited. So,
The cool thing too about that, I just wanted to say, if you clicked back on the thing that turned them all red or all yellow, all green, before you did that, the genes were in alphabetical order. So let's just say, like the other day, I was doing some writing for you on, I don't even remember, but I said, okay, I know that on the slider it said like 4 genes, but then I wanted to go look them up. I just came over here, and since they're alphabetical, I didn't have to go crazy trying to search for them. Like, ADT, what the heck? I just
yeah,
went to here, I clicked on it, and then it explained to me so that I could write the article better with a real understanding of what I was trying to say to people.
that's great. Here's the MAO genes, the warrior genes. You can see I got
Hmm.
5 of them. And that's the one that can cause the irritability and aggression and major depressive disorder and autism, all the fun things. And here it gives you some food suggestions here too. Foods high in tyramine should be avoided, and that's wine, chocolate, and some cheeses. This is the one that's inhibited by turmeric. We had a video on turmeric, so you're going to see lots of information in here about that kind of thing, but also we tally them up in the sliders for diet and lifestyle. So you don't have to sit there and count which ones you have and add them up. We did that for you. It's all in your sliders. So that's my story. That's how like a pro.
You can read it like a pro. And
You,
each one of the other reports has the same format, but it does not have the genetic report summary. Your gene list is only in the first one, and this first mood and personality comes with the kit. When you buy it, you automatically get that. If you want the second report, $49, you got diet and lifestyle. And then the other three, you'll have to hook up with a practitioner. Or you can even work with Dr. J. She does one-on-one consults. I highly recommend it. It's, like I said earlier in the video, she's the founder, the creator, the brains behind the operation. So when you have her read your reports and listen to your symptoms, she can immediately say, oh, well, that's because of the MAO or the COMT or whatever it is, right? And you can find out more about that on the myhappygenes.com website. At the very top in the navigation bar, it says work with Dr. J. So if you want more information or information on all the reports, everything is on the website. Just go to the nav bar and it's all explained. You'll find whatever you're looking for there.
yeah, so this, as you said, this is the one that comes with the kit. So it comes automatically. You can purchase this one as a consumer and get your diet and lifestyle recommendations. These other three, you have to work with a practitioner. This one does actually have the gene table on it
Oh, does
again.
it? Okay.
Yeah, because we give suggestions on blood work, what blood
Oh,
work
right.
would show that particular issue. So for the practitioner to look at. The last one, the personalized supplement recommendations, you have to take a questionnaire. So not only are we calculating what genes you've inherited, but you just because you have a gene doesn't mean you're going to express that symptom. It could be that you're already doing things to balance it out. You're on the right diet, you're on the right lifestyles, you're taking the right supplements. We want to know what symptoms are you still having, and then we can connect those up to the genes that you may have inherited that might be the underlying cause of those symptoms. And the algorithm connects them, your symptoms, your genes, and then which pathways are impacted by your genetics.
And that genetic pathway analysis is what you're talking about. That's the biochemical that anybody who's watched our videos has seen you share your biochemical pathways chart. That pathway analysis is your personal what's going on in the pathways.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
All of it's very cool.
Thank you.
So I hope that gives people an understanding. As I said in the beginning, even if you've had your genes tested and you read them yourself, maybe now you understand how much more information is behind each of those little links if you didn't already. So if this was fun and interesting for you, please share it. And if you're not a subscriber, we would love you to become a subscriber as well. And if there's anything missing, Dr. J, is this a fair thing to say that if people have gotten their reports and they've seen this video, obviously, what's missing? What sliders do these guys want? We'd love to hear from everybody that's listening, something that is in their body, in their mind, right? Let us know.
Yeah, I'm very curious about people's thoughts about it and what they really want to know from their genes. And one thing I want to emphasize again, because it's a big issue, is the privacy of this.
Hmm.
Nobody's going to have access to your information but you, because it's all connected by a barcode to your email. So there's no way that the lab is going to ever have that information. They toss your sample 90 days after they process the sample in case they need to reprocess it. And that information is not accessible to anybody else. So
Hmm.
don't be afraid to get it done. And don't be afraid to learn about yourself because it's so powerful to really understand why you are the way you are. As I was saying, I understand my grouchiness now. I understand my depression, where that was coming from, and I know how to work with it and how to modify it. So I'm actually kind of a nice person most of the time.
Underneath it all, she's a really
Underneath
nice
all
person.
that.
All right, people, we'll be back again soon with another Q&A. Dr. J, thank you so much. That was really great.
Yeah, thank you, GC. That was fun.